What are some of the biggest rock bottom moments on my 600-pound life? Let's watch. Hey everybody, it's Tony with Big T Bariatric and I'm back at you with another video. Today it is Tuesday, May 16th. I hope you're having a wonderful day so far. If you can do me a huge favor, can you please help me get to 6,000 subscribers? I greatly appreciate it. This channel keeps growing and soaring and I'm glad to have every single one of you along on this journey with me. So leave a like, leave a comment, share this video, do whatever you can. Let's get the word out, all right? I greatly appreciate it. So one of the biggest things that I talk about on this channel are often what it takes for people who are my size and bigger to get to the point where they realize they need to change. Because when you're so enamored by your drug, when you're so fulfilled by the good feelings and the awesome pleasure that you get from whatever drug it is that you're doing, whether it's food or sex or alcohol or drugs or whatever it is, often we kind of get to a rock bottom moment where we realize that this thing is not really serving us in the way that we thought that it was. I mean, there are consequences for all of that stuff. I mean, you might be thinking that you're living a good life and you're happy and you're enjoying yourself, whatever it is, and anybody who says anything different is just judging you. And I get that a lot on this channel. When I talk about different people and how bad off they are and they don't even realize it yet and they're trying to make excuses for themselves and they're like, Big T, you're just being judgy. Like, why are you preaching? Why are you going on and on about this? And I'm like, listen, I've been to the very, very bottom of the valley. I understand what it's like to be where you're at today, thinking there's nothing wrong, that you're happy, that you're fulfilled, you're enjoying your life, you're doing the things that you want to do, but then, bam, you hit that rock bottom moment. And before you know it, you're careening down the mountain and you're flying down and you're hitting every rock on the way down and it hurts. And it makes you realize that you need to wake up and you need to change before something really bad happens, because nobody wants to die. Like, we don't want to die, but when you start getting up there in weight, like, there's a lot of these people who don't even think they're going to wake up in the morning. Like, that's how scared they are every single day. But even that fear does not wake them up at times. It often takes a really, really bad thing to happen to them for them to realize, wow, I am really screwing up my life. I cannot allow this addiction to take over my life any longer. So again, whatever addiction that you have right now, this goes for you. You can get to a point where you just realize you cannot do it anymore. Maybe it's because you are an alcoholic and you end up crashing into somebody and killing them. Like, it's like, wow, like maybe I should have stopped drinking and living that lifestyle before I killed somebody type attitude, right? But this time when it's food, you're killing yourself. But also a lot of people don't realize that obesity, you're putting a strain on your entire family, you're putting a strain on your body, you're putting a strain on your friends, on society as a whole. It is very, very difficult. So that's what this video is. This one is called Most Shocking Wake-Up Calls in My 600-Pound Life. And so, you know, we will see what goes on here and we'll discuss as we go on. And remember, this is TLC. So this is not Plot Twist, but this is not TLC's own channel. So somebody else did these edits and videos. Let me check who it is so I can give them credit for doing it. This is Size X. So he's got 5,000 subscribers. So everybody go over there and subscribe to this guy. He put together this compilation. And so I'm going to react to it right now.
You're barely able to walk, so you're very close right now to becoming bedridden.
It's just the heaviest I've ever weighed. Pain in my body now is almost unbearable.
I'm just not physically capable of doing things that I need to do for myself and for my children.
It's only going to be a matter of time before her body gives out.
I dread waking up.
I mean, yeah, it's very interesting for a lot of them. Like, they have no idea how big they are. They often think they're smaller than they are. So once they kind of go to Dr. Now's or they find a scale that they can step on and they're like, wow, I'm 100 pounds heavier. I'm 150 pounds heavier than I thought I was. Like, I really let myself get out of control. Like, it's like when you just indulge and you're like, oh, you're just all up in your feelings. You don't even realize the consequences until it just smacks you. And like I said, a lot of these people, like, they're scared that they're not even going to wake up in the morning, that they know they need to change or they're going to die or the worst is going to happen, right?
Up in his body every morning.
Food is something that always had a way to make me feel better, no matter what it is I'm facing in my life or what I'm dealing with.
Number 5, Bianca Hayes. Bianca Hayes from Fayetteville was paying the ultimate price for her love for food. She'd made a deal with the devil and had automatically signed away her mobility with it. Her food fixation was a gift from an alcoholic mum who took the easy road in dealing with the needs of a small child on her hands.
I mean, yeah, we often talk about this quite frequently. That most of the people on the show, if you get to that size, there's some sort of tragic story connected to that. There is some sort of tragedy, there's some sort of abuse, there's some sort of something, neglect, that led people to get to the point where, like, I'm going to start chasing something that makes me feel good so that I can cope with whatever it was that I was dealing with. And myself, I talk about how I was mentally, physically, and sexually abused as a kid. I was neglected by my parents. Both my parents were big into partying and drugging, and so they kind of left us alone. And, you know, there was many years I went without birthday presents and just was not, both my parents fought over us, though, and so we never got to put down roots anywhere, and we kept moving back and forth between different cities, and so it was a very, very difficult childhood. Then my dad was in and out of jail, and, you know, my stepdad was very abusive, so, I mean, he tried to kill me, so there was a lot of trauma that I went through in my life, and that's what a lot of these people face. They went through some trauma. So when people say, Big T, you're too sympathetic and, you know, these people got what they deserve and they don't deserve your sympathy or whatever, it's like, just shut up about that. Because you don't know the pain, the level of pain that these people have gone through. And that's why I try to be sympathetic with them. That's why I try to, you know, say, hey, I'm here for you. Like, I'm here to help you. I'm here to, you know, show you that there is a way out, that you can do it. Because I've done it. I've been stuck for 20 years with my food addiction, fighting with it, losing, winning, losing again, you know, gaining the weight back that I lost, like back and forth. Like it's going to be a journey, but you're going to have to get to a point where you finally realize what it is that is making you overeat. And that's 99% of it is this. It's not this. It's not the physical. The physical is just a symptom of what's going on up here. So that's why I talk about mental illness quite a bit on this channel, because it's just why people overeat. It's not as simple as, oh, just go on a diet and eat a salad. It's not that simple. Like, if you don't get this right, you're not going to get this right. And so it took me until I'm almost 40 years old to finally start losing enough weight to get to the point where I could say that I've declared victory over my mind, because I'm doing a lot better right now, right? But there's still a chance that I could turn around and go the other way and gain the weight back if I didn't figure this out. So that's why there's like a 1% chance, they say, like 1 to 5% chance of people losing the weight and keeping it off. And a lot of that is because they don't deal with the mental. That's why I made sure it was important for me to deal with the mental part of it first. And that's why I liked my program, is because it did cover that, where a lot of these weight loss programs don't cover that.
Bianca's day would begin and end with eating food thrown her way by an alcoholic mother.
I let my weight get to the point where every day is a struggle for me now. I have to stop and rest while I'm getting ready. The pain in my body now is almost unbearable.
I mean, that's pretty bad when you need to rest from getting ready in the morning. Like, most people can just take a shower and get their clothes on and go out the door. But I remember there were times where I was just out of breath and worn out just from trying to take a shower, trying to put your clothes on. Like, that is a struggle. You can't even reach your feet to put your socks on. Like, I needed my mom to come in and put my socks on for me. You know, just wiping yourself. Like, you can't even reach your own butt to wipe it after going to the bathroom. It's like every single thing that you do is a struggle. And that in itself can be a rock bottom moment when you're like, wow, I need somebody to wipe my butt for me. Wow, I'm out of breath putting on my socks. Like, that's a major thing.
I want to get up and go see them first thing each morning, but I can't. It makes me sad, because I have 2 young kids
who only wanted her next fix, and giving her child a fulfilling and happy life filled to the brim with love of a mother was too much of a task she could not be bothered to provide. At some point, Bianca had replaced her emotionally and mentally absent parental structure.
I mean, yeah, and that's often what happens, right? Is a lot of these people become mothers or fathers, and then they fail their own kids because they were failed as a kid. And so it's just like it's passing along that that addiction and the neglect and all that stuff that they went through. And that's how generational curses exist. It's like, if you have an abusive parent, it's very, very likely that their parent was also abusive, and it goes back generations. And so it's like, are you going to decide you're going to break that trauma, break that curse, and figure yourself out here first before you move forward? Like, that's why I think people need to be more careful when it comes to things like having kids. I'm not telling you what to do. You're going to sleep with whoever you want to sleep with, but there's these people out here who don't deserve to be parents, who are just out there sleeping around, don't care about the consequences of their actions, and then they end up, abusing their own kids because they weren't ready to be parents yet. So, I mean, it's why I'm very careful with certain things like this, who I date, who I end up getting in a relationship with, who I end up marrying and stuff like that. Like, that stuff does matter. It matters.
With the crutch provided by food to her, the eventual passing of her parents pushed Bianca over the edge and made food but only a mainstay in her life. She eventually lost her flourishing nursing career to the impediments posed by her enormous weight.
I mean, that's something else too. It's like, you would think because I had such a difficult relationship with my dad that it wouldn't have bothered me so much when he passed. But the last time he got out of jail, I was 13 years old. We moved to Michigan, and things were great for a short amount of time. It's like, wow, finally I got a relationship with my dad. We were bonding over football. He was out of the drugs and everything else. And so, he was building a good life for us, the things that he never did when I was a kid. And then he got crushed to death in a work accident, and that just destroyed me. That's when I gained the bulk of my weight, is after he died. So yeah, it's very interesting to see that I did exactly what a lot of these people did. Like, they can have an abusive relationship with their parents, but then they get to a point later on where their parents die, and then it's like, that's even more trauma on top of it, and they really turn up, run into the food.
Even though she was bestowed with the gifts of children by fate, they were not enough to come between her and her food fixation.
It makes the pain go away. Food is something that always had a way to make me feel better. No matter what it is I'm facing in my life or what I'm dealing with. It just turns things around like I need. I feel peace, I feel joy.
You slow down.
And that's very interesting, because it's like, the food's really not doing that for you. That's that toxic relationship that I talk about often. It's like, you are convinced that this is a good thing, that you're with a good person, that they're giving you all this fulfillment and love and joy and peace, and you just feel happy with them. But at the end of the day, they're abusing you, and they're a narcissist, and they're punching you in the face, and you just keep excusing it. You keep excusing that behavior, when in reality, it's like, you're just ignoring the fact that you're being hurt by this.
Slow down.
Yeah.
For what? Baby, there's some more pancakes left.
No, hell no, ain't no more. You ain't getting no more.
It's a bite, baby. Going in. Look, baby.
No.
Baby, look.
Despite a gastric sleeve and its resultant weight loss, once again Bianca was at square one. Bianca's unhappy life had turned into a clearly happy one, but a lifetime of habits she'd accumulated were hard to break. The sight of this enormous amount of food, combined with the happy and loving environment of the house, were indications of the dichotomy in Bianca's life. While her life had turned a definite corner by bringing a loving and caring man into it to fill the void left by her mother, the habits she had earned in her previous life had followed her into a new one. If Bianca wanted a rebirth and a happy existence, it had to come with a brand spanking new body and a new mentality. And here is the conundrum. We heard it straight from the horse's mouth. Bianca wanted to live a full and joyful life with her children, watch them grow up and start families of their own. But due to the mounting medical problems that she was facing, she had serious doubts that she'd be able to live another year. This was her moment of crisis, which had not arrived with a bang, but had slowly and steadily
I mean, if you have kids and you love your kids, it's like, the thought that you're going to die and you don't even think you're going to make it another year, like, that should drive you to want to change. But a lot of these parents are really bad parents, because having kids does not drive them to change. Like, their kids are putting their socks on for them and cooking for them and cleaning for them and doing all the chores for them, because they can't even bother to get up and do it themselves. And so their kids almost are enduring an abusive relationship. I almost said enabling their parents, but I don't think the kids really realize what they're doing, because they have no choice but to do what mom or dad says. So it's not true enabling in that sense of the word, but, the parents use their kid to enable them by how, you know, the kids are going to do all the stuff that mom or dad is not going to do because they're too big. And so it's very easy for them to just excuse their behavior. Oh, I have a kid who's going to do that chore for me. I have a kid who's going to cook and clean for me. I don't have to do none of that stuff.
Wrapped up on her.
I got pregnant with my daughter, started back picking up bad habits. So that's when I started back drinking sodas and eating chips. I gained all the weight back I lost. So now I'm back to being around 600 pounds. My weight has impacted my family. You have to be active to take care of the kids. For me to stop eating. It's hard because the role of food in life right now is I have to change. Comforter.
She'd realised that she had to take some drastic steps to be able to ensure her own longevity as insurance for her children's happiness. Number 4, Ashley Bernard. When we met her, Ashley B, she was only 32 years old, but her time was already running out due to the sickness pervading her body.
Life has not turned out anyway like I thought it would. I've gotten too big to get along and do the things that I need.
I mean, yeah, when we talk about these issues that are prevalent in obesity, like I did a video a few days ago that you don't have to be in your 40s and 50s and 60s to die from obesity anymore. I mean, I covered a 13-year-old and a 16-year-old who died from their obesity. Can you believe that? Like, now we have people in their 20s and their 30s who are like this, who are scared of dying, who are at the rock bottom moment.
His daughter Anaya has still out for me too. I feel like Anaya is taking too much on as a child. I'm just not physically capable of doing things that I need to do for myself and for my children.
Unfortunately, the sickness came in the form of a food obsession, which originated in her mind, but in a couple of decades it had taken over her entire existence. Ashley's self-destructive path was rooted in a childhood trauma, the likes of which no child should go through, at the hands of a man trusted with her care. Her way of dealing with this trauma was by keeping it secret and guarding it with all her might. The only method she devised in her childlike mind was to get big and strong, to be able to deal with the person playing with her life and...
I mean, that's what a lot of people do when they face sexual trauma in particular, is they just balloon up and get really big because they're like, oh wow, nobody wants to touch me now, like I'm big. Or they think I'm just too big and strong now, like who's gonna mess with me now, like I'm really big. So I've been told before, like all this weight, like I've been using it like armor, like it just protects me, it protects my body, it keeps me safe. And that's how I've always like felt being big. And you can really gain an identity, like it's kind of a false identity, but you kind of like identify yourself as a big person, and that's just kind of what you carry along with you. So it kind of gets to a point where you don't even realize it anymore, that it's just you're identifying as being a big person.
her body. Unfortunately, her eating large amounts of food and gaining extreme weight only did one thing, which was to isolate her further from her environment.
And it has never failed me in doing that because food has much comfort throughout the year. My life better. And it gives me happiness that I feel that I'm missing out on. Maybe if I got bigger and stronger, I could start to fight them off. I know that food is what's taking my joy in life because of how much I eat. I just kept eating to try to get even bigger. My body was putting so much weight on my leg. I was in pain. I was hurting.
And costing her dearly in terms of her health. Though the person responsible for her trauma was removed from her vicinity, it was already too late, and the damage to her psychology had already been done. Ashley had found a new savior, and the messiah that she'd been desperately searching for had come in the form of food she couldn't keep her hands from. Ashley's realization of her circumstances crept up on her, and she eventually ended up at Dr. Nalzaradan's clinic.
Because in 2 months, you barely lost any weight, huh? So what is with that?
I have been trying to follow the diet. There's a few times that I missed.
Your weight to maintain.
You know, we often, like, when we talk about some of these patients, they'll go there and they'll fail, and they'll say, I've been trying. I have really been trying. And that's where I think a lot of the mental health will come into play, is because it's very easy to trick yourself into thinking you're actually trying, that you're actually doing the work, that you're doing well, because you maybe tried just a little bit. But in reality, you're not trying. And I get that a lot when I cover a lot of these fat activists. Like when I covered Anna from Glitter and Lasers, people are like, well, she's been bearing her truth about her obesity. She's really trying to lose weight. She exercises. And it's like, she's huge. Like somebody pointed out that she was bigger than a refrigerator doors. She's not trying. She's been gaining weight over the years. So it's very easy to convince yourself that you're trying, or that these people are trying, or those people are trying, when in reality they're not really trying. And that's just part of the lie. That's part of the defense mechanism that we tell ourselves, because we really don't want to lose the weight. Like at the end of the day, we don't want to break up with that toxic person in our life. We just don't want to. Like maybe somebody can convince you that it's time, that they're hurting you, but you just get so much pleasure out of it that you don't want to do it. And until you hit that rock bottom moment and you realize like it's now or never, it's death or it's life, until you hit that moment, then you can fully separate and sever yourself from that person. Then you're just going to kind of delude yourself into thinking you're doing it when in reality you're failing at it.
The way you are, you need to be eating at least 6,000 to 7,000 calories a day.
Number 3. Margaret Johnson. When we met Margaret, she was already admitted at Dr. Now Zaradan's clinic due to a medical emergency affecting her heart.
A couple hours ago, Margaret and her mom showed up here at the hospital. She's 35 years old, and she managed to become 750 pounds. Her BMI is 129, which is one of the highest BMI I have ever seen. And she and her mom were worried she was having a heart attack. It's only going to be a matter of time before her body gives out.
Due to her morbidly obese status, as a result of the 750 pounds of fat on her body, she had been referred straight to Dr. Now Zaradan's expert care. Margaret's watershed moment had already arrived, and whether she realised it or not, the alarm bells sounding to the medical community were proof positive that she needed to make some radical changes.
I mean, that's one of the biggest fears that you have, too. It's like, there was many times I had heartburn or I had anxiety, and I thought, like, this is it. I'm dying. I'm having chest pains. I'm going to be a goner. Like, even before I had surgery, and I was in that 6-month phase before surgery that I had to, get things right with the insurance company and everything. It's like, oh, I waited too long. This is it. I'm dead. I called 911. I expected to not make it till the next morning. So that's one of the other fears that you face being that size, is you are a second away from dying. And I guess we can say that about anybody, right? Like a piano can fall on your head tonight. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that risk of being a big person, like that can happen at any moment.
If she was to survive the year. Margaret was a pathological eater and had managed to run out of time even though she was just 35 years old. The tears trickling down from her eyes were an indication that Margaret was fully aware of her dire straits.
It's an answered prayer. Know I've let myself get to a breaking point. Easily die gets shown I fail. If I don't, it's going to be too late for me. So I have to change now. I'm here in the hospital. I've been here for about 2 weeks. The doctor now said I might be able to go home today.
Knowing something about yourself and doing something about it are two different things, and how Margaret would react with the knowledge provided to her would only become apparent with time. The switch on Margaret's self-destruct mode had been flipped by her father, who had planted the seed in her mind that she was unloved by her mother due to her weight problem.
This is that miracle we pray for, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You prove to him you can do it. You say, I'm going to prove them wrong.
The seed had been nurtured up to the point that it had turned into a firmly rooted plant, flourishing under the self-hate Margaret was inflicting on herself. The re-entry of her mother into her life cleared up.
I say that all the time, that obesity is self-harm. All these big people convincing themselves that they're happy and they're enjoying life, you're inflicting self-harm onto yourself. You know deep down inside you are miserable and that's why you're overeating. Like you're coping from something. You are not happy. Because obesity is self-harm, and I'll keep shouting that mantra as loud as I possibly can. You can see how miserable she is. I bet she convinced herself that she was happy too until she got to this point where she almost had a heart attack and died, and now she's freaking out because she might have waited too long to fix what she's always known that she's needed to fix.
Up so many misconceptions and lies, and the medical emergency combined with it convinced Margaret that she had to change her life, and Dr. Now was by her side each step of her recovery. Number 2, Brianna Diaz. Brianna Diaz was just 32 years old, but her body was quickly giving up under the mass she'd accumulated in her short life. Accompanied by her husband Rick, she was living a hard life, and the hardest knocks she'd taken were on her mobility.
At this point, food is the only reason I get up. No, I have to do something drastic or I won't be around much longer.
All that weight is crushing your inside.
The only hope is to change now. So if I accept you into my program...
Becoming a prisoner of your own body at such a young age is a heartbreak scenario, but Brianna was locked in a sticky situation due to the emotions and the psyche she'd developed as a direct byproduct of a toxic relationship with her father. One of 3 siblings, she'd always felt left out, and the harsh cutting words of her father had played a central role in warping her thinking.
But I didn't understand why you didn't do something to stop how he treated me. Growing up, I just felt like Dad didn't love me.
I can see that.
What was childhood like for you?
I just felt like my dad called me fat names.
Now an adult, Brianna had ended up at Dr. Now's clinic hoping for a miracle. This moment of truth had turned into a moment of crisis for Brie. The scales showing a whopping 744 pounds were beyond.
I mean, that's what a lot of big people, especially when they're kids, face. Because parents often see their kid getting bigger and they don't know what to do about it. And they'll call him names. They might put him down. They might put him on a diet, make him ride an exercise bike like I did with me. I had a grandma who put me on a cabbage soup diet for a week, and it was miserable, and it didn't do nothing. You know, it's just one of those things where you don't know what to do as a parent. You know what their kid is doing is dangerous, but at the same time, they don't really realize how they're contributing to their kid gaining weight in the first place. It's like, you know, there's a lot of ignorance there.
On her wildest nightmares, but it seems her nightmare had actually come true.
A lot of weight, crushing all my organs and bones. I could die.
You're barely able to walk, so you're very close right now to becoming bedridden.
It's just the heaviest I've ever weighed. I finally made it to Dr. Nels to try and get his help. And I'm about to find out what I weigh. Like chips and just crap.
Chips and crap, one who brings you food. So he's your neighbor, right?
I guess.
Today you weigh in at 742 pounds, huh? The only hope is to change now. So how motivated you are to make the changes?
I'm very motivated.
This was a watershed moment for Brie, who knew that her number was up, and she had no place to hide from the...
That was a lot bigger than I was. And I'm 6 feet tall, so her being a shorter woman, like with less muscle mass, like her BMI was much higher than mine. And that's difficult to say because I know how big I was. I'm surprised she was walking as well as she was walking.
bitter reality that her time was running out, and she just might have gone beyond the point of no return. Number 1. Lucas. Lucas had paid dearly for his food fetish, which had first taken his career from him, and later pushed him into an isolated existence.
I dread waking up in this body every morning. I feel pain in all parts of my body, and I'm exhausted all the time because each day is just...
I mean, is this really the sign of somebody who's happy? Most of these people, including myself at that size, pushed myself into isolation because we are miserable. And we don't like the societal consequences. We don't like the physical consequences. We don't like the way we look and the way we feel, being exhausted doing little things, and how embarrassing it is to be in a store walking a few feet and, excuse me, so out of breath that you're just gasping in air, gulping in air, and you can't get enough. Like, it's all embarrassing, and people are staring at you and everything else. Like, is that really somebody that you would look at and say that they're happy?
just too difficult for me to face. At the size that I'm at now, I could still get around.
Life could be turned good as he lived on a family-owned compound. He knew that despite having a close-knit family structure at his back, the only way he could make something of his own life was by taking charge of it. His moment of truth had arrived when he had realized that he was unable to fit into the shower.
My parents built an outdoor shower for me. I can't get the water to go all over my body because I'm too big. The shower I can fit in is at my sister's place.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a rock bottom moment when you are too big to fit inside a shower inside the house. So your family builds an outdoor shower for you. I mean, yeah, what can be more embarrassing than that?
It's too big for chairs, doors, bathrooms, toilets, my bed. But my life has become just one challenge after another.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. Like, you are too big for toilets, you're too big for beds, you're too big for chairs. Like, what you sit in is very much a mystery. Like, that's one of the things you're always concerned about. Like, if I'm going somewhere, are they going to have a chair that I can sit in? I've had people tell me, hey, Tony, you know, I love you, but I don't want you sitting on my couch anymore because I was breaking the couch. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation that you face everywhere you go and everything you do. Worried about breaking your bed. So for so many years, I laid on a mattress on the floor because I broke every single bed. I mean, that's just part of it.
Place he shared with his parents. Though embarrassing and debilitating, he'd taken to visiting his sister's place, which was the only house on the compound with a shower big enough to fit Lucas's heavy frame. Aware of his deteriorating circumstances, Lucas sought help from Dr. Now.
Family has a compound here in Condor, Texas. Basically, they're just little buildings that we purchase, and then everybody has their own little personal space. Food is a highlight of my day. It always gives me something to look forward to. Food is my happy place and kinda always has been. I haven't been to a grocery store on my own for 4 or 5 years.
And was able to bring a semblance of normality to his hard life. That's all we have for you folks. Join us next time.
So that was, I thought that was a good video. I might react to these more often if Size X does more of them instead of Plot Twist, because Plot Twist can be kind of mean. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching this with me, and you're starting to see some of the things that a lot of us go through, right? With our obesity, and why it often takes a rock bottom moment for us to realize that it is time for us to change. And if we don't change, something tragic is going to happen right around the corner. So anyways, let me know what you guys think down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I love you. God bless you.